New American Liberty League listen. I know I don't have the face for videos or the voice for podcasts, so to all of you that are going to see this, I'm sorry. I am D. Hearn, Daniel Leonardo Hernandez. This is my son, Emil Alexander Hernandez, in whom I am well pleased. Big topic today. We are still on the topic of God. But since it's Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, all that stuff, we're gonna tie those things in and talk about God. In the notebook today, that's our big topic. In news, I think at this point it's important that we start getting into almost everything midterms. It's still a little early, but that is what's going to consume the news. In the capitalist pig section, we're going to go over, we'll just review 2025 a little bit and talk about what we believe is coming in 26. In the life section, we're going to have some predictions for the coming year. Big topic.
Emil. Stevie Wonder.
Christmas. God. New Year's. You know, there's a lot of great things about Christmas. Obviously, being with family. My son Jason is home from the military. Great surprise for his mom. That was awesome. The gifts are awesome. Trees, lights, seeing happy children. There is so many great things about Christmas this time of the year. There's so many stressful things this time of the year. People going into debt, constantly worrying about if their cooking is good, if their gifts are good. Will they have bigger, better gifts than the family next door? And will their kids have cooler clothes going back to school than the people down the street? A lot of useless things we stress ourselves over. The other thing that creeps into Christmas, and I'm guilty of this, is theology. People like us, people that watch shows like this, people that are thoughtful, we can't help but think, is Christmas accurate? Is it pleasing to God? Is the time frame accurate? And the truth is most likely not. I've heard arguments on both sides, but I believe most likely Christ was conceived at this time, probably not born. Could be absolutely wrong. The imagery of Christmas, is it pagan? Does it tie into other holidays? Is it even holy? Because the Bible doesn't say to necessarily celebrate the birth of Christ. You know, we ask ourselves a lot of these things during Christmas. And here's the truth. None of us can know the truth. What pleases or does not please God as far as the imagery of Christmas, Easter, every holy day, I'm not smart enough to know. We could all have opinions. When was Christ born? I'm not smart enough to know. What I do know is this. Christmas is not a celebration of when Christ was born. Christmas is a celebration of the fact Christ was born. The fact that the Savior of the world, the Jewish Messiah, the Son of God, was born. The imagery, the theology, the dates, all of it is secondary to the fact that Christ was indeed born. Now, going forward to New Year's, in 2025, especially after Kirk, the nation saw an amazing revival, probably the biggest of my lifetime. You could even measure these things by posts about God, by Bible sales. All of these things skyrocketed after Kirk. I do believe that evil is desperate and there has been distractions since. But what I would love to see more than anything else, for us personally, to all of you watching, and to us as a nation, is that revival to continue and grow through 2026. That is my New Year's prayer above anything else. Emil, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, so I think my favorite thing you said was we're not celebrating when he was born, we're just celebrating the fact that he was born. Because I agree, I think it's very hard to say that we actually know exactly when he was born. And when you talked about if it would be pleasing to God or not, I think the way that most Americans celebrate Christmas may not be pleasing to God. Because we put such a huge focus on gifts and onto other things instead of putting the focus onto the Son, onto our Messiah. But I feel like if you do celebrate Christmas from the lens of making it all about God and all about His Son, then I do think it would make God happy. I can't say that for 100%, but I feel like it would match well with a lot of other holy days in the Bible. We just have to make sure that we keep it on its right purpose. There was a lot of Hanukkah celebrations as well. There was some in Tallahassee. There was that unfortunate one in Australia, which we're going to get into later on. And when you were talking about the New Year, me and you were talking about something actually just a few minutes ago, how the best New Year's resolution that someone could have is to get closer to God in this new year. And do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that any resolution you make at any time of the year, if it's about getting closer in your relationship to God, you know, it depends on what level you're on. If you don't have a relationship with God, that should always be your goal. If you have that relationship with God, to learn more, to make it deeper, that should be your goal. I don't want to sound like knowledge should not be a goal. Those theology conversations are incredibly important. I just don't think we need it during Christmas. But if your goal is to learn more, then make a resolution to read the Bible a couple times in 2026. Yeah, there is no wrong time to make a resolution to improve your relationship and understanding of God, whether it's New Year's, whether it's February 7th, whether it's August 12th, it doesn't matter. Like, there is no wrong time to make that your goal and resolution.
I completely agree. And this could be very practical in terms of just like, all right, for this New Year's, I want to read 20 minutes of the Bible a day, or on my car ride to work, I'm going to have the Bible playing on the radio. It can be super easy in the beginning, especially if currently you're doing nothing. Just add one thing on top of what you already do, and I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I will also say this. If that is a resolution of yours to learn, read the Bible for the first time, the second time, whatever it is, I will say this. Reading verse to verse is great, but by verse to verse, you could twist a lot of things. Paul is a great example of this. Reading a book here and there, a book here and there. Oh, well, I'm going to go from, I like Proverbs and I like Matthew. I'm going to read here and there. You get stories and you get a small piece, and that's great. I'm not discouraging anybody from doing that, but you get something different when you read from Genesis to Revelations, and repeatedly you start to see themes of the whole book, tendencies of the whole book. You start to understand what God is trying to say. You understand what Christ is trying to say. You understand how the Torah points to the Gospels and the Gospels back to Torah. When you read it as a whole, in its entirety, not once, not twice, 3, 4, 5 times, you pick up the theme. You pick up a different understanding. That doesn't mean you're going to memorize the whole Bible. Never. Nobody's going to do that. It doesn't mean you're going to become an expert. It just means that you're getting a bigger picture than you do learning verses or learning just stories. You start to see things as a whole. And when that happens, your core becomes stronger, your beliefs become stronger, because one verse and chapter and one story cannot break what you've learned and seen as a whole book. And with that thought in mind, let me talk on Hanukkah and Christmas again. No, biblically they have nothing to do with each other much, except for, let me say this. We know Christ was celebrating the Festival of Lights, the Feast of Dedication. We know he was celebrating Hanukkah in John, where he said, I am the light of the world. Therefore, the two tie perfectly together. And it's easy to me for Christians, especially because the book of Maccabees is in the Catholic Bible. It's easy for me to see Christians celebrating Hanukkah in that way. Just like I believe Jewish people should be celebrating the birth of their Messiah in Christmas. These things all run together. I mean, you both could celebrate Hanukkah. You light a candle, you thank God for him providing, and it's easy to tie in Yeshua when he said he was the light of the world. It's easy for Jewish people to celebrate. They should be celebrating the birth of their Messiah. And then right after that, you're going into a new year. I mean, what a better time to make promises to yourself, to reflect. The three work so perfectly together, just like the Bible works so perfectly together. That's why, for me, reading the Bible and starting to learn the Bible a little bit from Genesis to Revelations, I can never see them separate again. We separate ourselves. This is something man-made. The separation is not something God made.
Yeah, I think that's very good. I want to add one key aspect to this, which is if people in your life actively walk around, and I'm mainly talking about your family here. If your family walks around and they see you reading your Bible, they're also naturally going to gain some interest into it. At least normally that happens. So if you're worried about the fact that your family maybe isn't very religious or hasn't seemed to found God, if they start seeing you make actions to try to get closer to God, they likely will as well.
That it?
Yeah, I think so.
Sponsor this half hour a meal. Churches that refuse to go woke. Thank you. Thank you for getting us through a lot of that storm. Thank you for being strong. Refuse to go woke. This doesn't mean you have to go by everyone in leadership MAGA hats. This doesn't mean you have to necessarily strongly even support the Republican Party. But thank you for calling out sin when and where you see it. And to any weak pastor that refuses to come on this show and answer questions, not because of the conversation we're going to have, but because of the politics we get into, you're weak. You're the reason sin wins. So sponsor this half hour. Churches that refuse to go woke. Thank you. News, a meal. Midterms coming up. Yes, they are 11 months away, but I think this is so important, especially after having 4 years of the most corrupt administration we ever seen in Biden. We are at a point now where Republicans have 3 more years of power or 11 months left of power. And I think this is vitally important. If we don't think Trump, the FBI, and the DOJ has been aggressive enough yet, imagine if they lose the House or Senate or both. He's a sitting duck. He's literally, he needs to operate like he has 11 months left. Trump frustrates us because as conservatives, we know he's not truly a conservative. He frustrates us because we don't think he's being aggressive enough. He frustrates us because a lot of this infighting, I believe, was caused by him, and he has not got a grip on yet. However, he has had many successes. I'll name just a few. The largest tax cuts in history are set to take place in January. They've already been voted on. They're going to set in January. He's brought $12 trillion of foreign investments to America. Just where I live, within the last year, gas prices are down 80%. Interest rates are coming down. Inflation is coming down. He just beat estimates of GDP. The GDP, the last quarter, grew 4%. What else? The border is closed. Yes, the numbers are not big enough, but there is deportations taking place. Fentanyl overdoses are dramatically down because he has taken a stand against the drug cartels. Wars all over the world have ended. Not all, but most have ended because of him. He bombed ISIS terrorists that were murdering Christians on Christmas. I could go on and on. He has had some great successes. Should there be more? Absolutely. The problem is going into midterms. If we don't get a handle on this now, we're in trouble. The Democrat strategy has been to get themselves out of the news and overshadow Trump's successes by using infighting within the party. And I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, I'm talking about Candace Owens, and I'm talking about Al Jazeera Fuentes. These people, whether they know it or not, they are being used. So I believe the number one thing we need to do going into midterms is get them out of the headlines, expose them for who they are, and prop up Trump and the Republican Party's successes. Even though we're frustrated, we cannot lose these midterms. Emil, anything on the midterms? Also in the news, we have, I think the two relate, all the fraud and corruption we're finding in Minneapolis. I think those two things could go hand in hand. Do you have anything on that? Anything on Trump needs to be more aggressive, and just any thoughts on the midterms to start the year?
Yeah, so me and him listen to the radio constantly. For one, nobody's better than us, but it gets boring listening to just our own episodes sometimes. And something we constantly hear is them talking about Trump and how he's not aggressive enough and things of that nature. And the thing is I think they're right, but the Republican Party does such a bad job branding itself because it also refuses to point out their wins. Like he said, he's done so many great things, and there's some small things that he gets wrong. He doesn't know how to spend properly. He spends way too much money. The Epstein files was a huge thing that he got released, but a lot of it is redicated, which I don't like, and seems to be redicated for no reason on certain aspects. But I'm also not sure that is a Trump thing. I think that was more of an FBI thing. I don't think Trump had anything to do with that. But everybody was blaming him for it. I feel like over the course of this next year, Republicans need to bash Trump a little bit less and focus more on pointing out his wins just from a pure media perspective. We still have to apply pressure, and if he does anything wrong, point it out. But we have to do a much better job backing the Republican Party going into the midterms. Because if we can't lose the House or the Senate, that would be absolutely devastating for the progress that is currently being made. And this is outside of the midterms, but the Minnesota thing that just came out, I think could end up being huge heading into the midterms. They found $9 billion of fraud just in one city. And what happened was they started going to all of these daycares, which were government funded, and
To the
figuring
tune
out
of millions and millions each. Ridiculous money.
that they didn't have not even one child in there getting taken care of. So they were just getting the money without actually caring for any of the children. And at least in the videos we saw, it was all Muslims that
Somalis.
owned the buildings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. America, we need Somalis. We need multiculturalism. These people are the backbone. They are, Muslims are the backbone of America. Muslims built America.
Yeah.
Somali Muslims, they built America. That it's the way they fought in 1776. Oh, we're not a country without Somalis. I mean, the way it could help Trump the most, and I don't think Pam Bondi is going to be the one to do it, unfortunately. The way it could help Trump the most these are layup arrests. This is where you could go and actually see handcuffs and see trials and see corruption going to jail. And that, I believe, could be huge. That could be huge going into the midterms. And let me say this to the gropers and the Tucker fans and all you woke Republicans out there. If you have a more conservative or somebody that fits your views better than current Republican candidates, stop complaining about the Republican Party and go primary for them. Help them run, campaign for them, fundraise for them. Tell us all who these more conservative options are. We would love to hear. When you talk about voting for a Democrat in Ohio instead of Vivek, you know how retarded that sounds? This is one of the most well-spoken conservatives of my lifetime. And we're talking about voting Democrat over him? That's absurd. If there's a more conservative option that fits your views better, tell us who it is and help him in the primaries. And if that option doesn't win, we should all agree in the midterms, even if we don't all get our way exactly right, let's all agree to vote for the most conservative option. Let's not destroy the Republican Party. Let's not hand power back over to Democrats because of Al Jazeera Fuentes. This shit has to stop. Like woke Republicans, the reason I call you woke Republicans is because you're moving like liberals. You're thinking with emotion and not logic. We have to figure this midterm dilemma out, and we need to do it fast.
I do want to point something else out about the midterms that you just helped remind me of. We've pointed it out in other episodes, but we have got to keep pointing out the anti-Semitic part of the party that is starting to pop up, because I feel like that could really split the party. There was a tweet that Candace Owens made, which the New American Liberty League has already commented about on Facebook, but she basically says Jews are worse for the country than Muslims are for the country, and that Jews are a much bigger threat. If you believe that, I'm very sorry, but that is a horrifically bad take.
Yeah, it's absurd, dude. Like, the whole thing is absurd. Let me say this. Let me get into another news topic and then I'll tie right back into it. The Hanukkah terrorist attack in Sydney, Australia, Bondi Beach, is disgusting, but it happens all the time. A lot of times it gets swept under the rug. Nobody wants to say Islamist terrorists. In some parts of the world, we're getting so used to it that it goes without mention. With that said, there's a term I hate, is anti-Semitism. I get it, but to me it just sounds weak. I mean, racism is racism, hate is hate. I don't want to be race baiters and complainers like Democrats are, especially when they talk about reparations and systemic racism, which I believe, but it comes from the Democrats. I don't want to sound like them. Like, yeah, hate is hate. And I would rather see Jewish people stand up for themselves, start caring, start fighting back, than run commercials about anti-Semitism and, oh, what if a Jewish kid gets kicked in the hallway? Yeah, these things are terrible, but this is life. Like, get some balls and fight back that way. I just don't want us to sound like complainers about race and oppression and victimhood and all this, like Democrats always do, and even like woke Republicans do. Woke Republicans have took on this victimhood mentality and, oh, we're oppressed and da 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 da. Everybody just get fucking tougher. How about that? Can we just all be tougher? With that said, Jewish hate is a huge problem. My biggest problem with it now, I mean, obviously I think it's ungodly. Obviously I think it's wrong to hate anyone. If you want to be critical of Israel, you want to be critical of how Jews vote, fine. To hate people, that takes on a different meaning. What concerns me the most right now of it, everything about it concerns me. But what could flame it more? What could cause it to be more dangerous and deadly for Jews themselves is if we lose midterms. And I also believe, just hear me out here, the Republican Party got 25% higher vote with Black Americans in the last campaign. Same with Jews, same with Hispanics. All these minority groups voted higher for Trump than anybody was expecting. Trump is having success after success. This is going back to what we spoke about earlier. The way to break that for Democrats would be to push the racist, anti-Semitism idea that this is who Republicans are. And what better way for them to do that than Al Jazeera Fuentes, than Carlson, than Owens? That's why I say these people are being used. We think we've taken the media back in some aspects, maybe. They still run the media. 40%, I would say, in my estimation, 40% of these accounts that I argue with and look into have been foreign, fake, dead accounts that all of a sudden are making posts again up only like 2 months ago, or a bunch of liberals that are being shown these conservative things on their feeds, then they're speaking on them. And when you first read it at a glance, it sounds like a conservative saying these things. But when you look at their profile, they're liberals. So I believe 40% of this anti-Semitic movement on the right, I think at least 40% of these are fake, are bots, are liberals. It's not us. It's not the problem isn't as big as it seems to be, but it does seem to be. So just on a perspective standpoint, people that don't look into this, they're not going to know that. So, I think, anti-Semitism is a problem. What happened in Australia was sad, but what becomes more of a problem is if we lose midterms.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Also in the news, and I'll just run over this really, really quick. Putin made a threat to the EU to stop getting involved in Ukraine because they will not fight the EU the same way they've been fighting in Ukraine. I don't think anything will come from this, but I just want to reiterate this fact. The relationship with America and Russia is more important for the world than any relationship with Ukraine. And I believe going forward, because so much of Europe is lost, I believe that relationship with Russia could be more important than even our relationship with Europe. And this is not me calling Putin a good guy, but when I heard that story, I could just see things going. I could just see America making the wrong choice very easily, and Americans making the wrong choice very easily, not realizing how important American-Russia relations are.
Yeah, I agree. Since the war had started, except in the very, very beginning, I wasn't a big fan of the way that Putin went in. But in terms of his reasoning and his understanding, I have pretty much been on his side this entire time. And at certain peace deals, it does seem like Zelensky has been the reason why peace hasn't been an option, because he's getting absolutely filthy rich off of this war.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
And I can understand not wanting NATO directly on top of your border when NATO is pretty much just made to be anti-Russian.
Soviet Union, which no longer exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fake sponsor this half hour, Emil. Woke churches. Do you like women pastors that tell you it's okay for your kids to be gay? Do you like women pastors and feminine men pastors that tell you the Democrat Party is just fine to vote for and really Trump is the evil one? Then please, by all means, find woke churches near you. Fake sponsor this half hour, leading to the damnation of America. Woke churches. Fake sponsor this half hour. Capitalist pig segment, Emil. Little recap for 2025. What do you see coming in 2026? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
Real quick, I just think that now finally, after almost a year of Trump being in office, he is starting to overcome some of these obstacles that Biden put in America's way, that Democrats put in America's way. And I think 2026 will be a good continuation of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think over 2025, we have seen a huge boost in the economy and in the stock market so far. I want to say the Dow started off this year at around 43,000, and now it's almost at 49 at the time of this recording.
Almost a $50,000 Dow. That's crazy.
And I think in 2026, we're just going to see a pretty slow rise continuously as tax cuts start to happen. We know no tax on tips and no tax on overtime is coming. So people are going to have more money to spend, further fueling the economy. There has been a huge drop on corporate tax. So corporations are going to have a lot more money to spend as well in 2026. And overall, everything seems to just be primed for a very good year.
Yep. Now there's always the chance of bubbles. Things go too good too fast. You will get a pullback. You will get these bubbles. The left is going to do everything they can to make sure if there is that bubble, it happens right around midterm. So be cautious of that. But just know that when things are going really good, these pullbacks are inevitable and necessary. That doesn't mean things are going to hell. That's just one thing to look forward to. Other than that, just put yourself in a good position to take advantage of a very good 2026 financially. Life, a meal. Maybe we could even tie back into some of what we just talked about with the capitalist pig. Any predictions, politically, personally, economically, whatever you want. Any predictions for 2026?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say, even though we've talked about the concern of Democrats possibly winning, I do think Republicans end up winning midterms in both the House and the Senate, because I do believe there's still such a huge gap currently. I think the country does heavily favor Republicans right now. In terms of the world, I don't really know. I don't have too much.
You don't have too
prediction.
Much? How much longer does the Russia-Ukraine war go on for?
Oh, I think it goes past 2026.
Really?
I think it continues going. Oh, one prediction I do have for this year is that the new American Liberty League we'll hit 150 subscribers, so that's going to be
That's going to be great.
really good.
First, if we could just get to 50, that'd be good. Are we at 50?
We're at 63,
Oh,
I believe.
63. Wow, we're destroying the internet.
Yeah.
It's fire. My predictions this year, I agree with Emil. I think that I think we win midterms, and like we were just talking about, I think the economy as we get closer to midterms becomes a bigger campaign issue than the infighting in the Republican Party, thank God. I could be completely wrong on that. I'm just an optimist. I believe Russia-Ukraine is almost over. I believe something interesting to watch for this year is going to be freedom in Cuba. A lot of this stuff that Trump is doing in South America is to get communist involvement out of our hemisphere. Venezuela, the Panama Canal, Cuba, because Cuba's ran by China, Venezuela, Russia. Those pieces have to fall. And I believe he's working on them one at a time. I believe by the end of 2026, Cuba will become a much bigger part of the story. Another thing I would like to see, and I don't think he's going to be able to market it as this, I would like to see Trump, and I believe Trump will take a harder stance on China. And the way he does that is in 26 really getting in and marketing things that make us more independent from China. Some things, and I don't wish this, on anybody, but here's my death watch. Mitch McConnell, he can't have long left. Joe Biden, hanging on by a string. Jerry Jones, please go watch the Cowboys from the Hole in the Roof, Jerry. It's time. And you know, those guys are a little, they're obvious, they're old. Also be on the lookout for Lil Wayne. Be on the lookout for Lil Wayne. Can you see Lil Wayne being old? He's Lil Wayne. Lil. Not old Wayne. And he's getting up there. And just be on the lookout for Lil Wayne. Like I said, I pray none of these happen. Okay? But this is my predictions for 2026. Look, I hope you guys have an unbelievable year. I hope you had a great Christmas, great Hanukkah, whatever it is. We absolutely love you guys. We are working on doing shows with Off the Access, my friend Jonathan Dean. They're going to do a show with us about just a big topic of God, similar to the interview we did with my rabbi. They're just interesting, thoughtful people, young. So I thought it would be just interesting to hear from them. They're kind of new on the scene too, so also be a good way for everybody to get to know them. And then they want us to come on one of their shows and talk about our disagreements with the Groper movement in general and some of our agreements on a lot of things. So we got 2 interesting shows planned with them, but always support conservatives, whether it's local businesses, whether it's on social media. Support New American Liberty League because we still have the shadow ban of all shadow bans going on. So if you really want to fight the left, support the New American Liberty League. With that said, and we are the New American Liberty League.
Saving the Republic, one listener at a time.